So it happened. Yesterday I described in a video to all of you about a potential hack for Fallout 76, one that a few users had gotten their hands on but required some manual work by them, a hack which would allow you to steal an entire player's inventory. All the weapons, armors that they had on them, the only things excluded were quest items that you traditionally couldn't drop. As I had made that video, people are still somewhat figuring out how this worked. Some people had it working in-game, but the original creator hadn't yet released the more plug-and-play version, so people that don't have a ton of technical knowledge could abuse this. Until several hours after my video was posted late last night, that version 2 went live. So what ensued since then has pretty much been chaos. Many of the popular Fallout 76 groups spreading the word that basically being on a regular public server on PC isn't safe. If somebody on that server was abusing this hack, there's really nothing you could do to avoid it. They could just walk up to you and steal everything in your inventory. But also the massive amount of reports of people getting affected by this, and even some videos of people doing it. So in this video, we're going to talk about all of that. And also, Bethesda has issued a response to this. I was waiting to post this video until that had happened. But in fact, as I was editing this video, the fix has been posted. So you can no longer do this cheat in game anymore. But there is still quite a bit to discuss around this and some potential lasting effects of it. So let's take a look first at the hack itself as it was posted. It was posted by a user named ErectBan. He's been the source of many of these hacks for Fallout 76. Some in the past, but even more recently, things like the create a legendary hack or the spawning in props or NPC hack, those are all from this user. Although something important to note, what was actually posted on this forum technically wasn't the hack in its fully fledged nature. This forum has some rules. He discussed in the past how he was trying to get certain approvals from moderators about what he can and can't post around this, because of course it can be very damaging and it's quite a bit worse than some of the previous ones. So technically what ErectBan posted was a way to take Thorn, Solar, or Strangler Heart armor, those being 3 armors you typically can't trade. So he posted this tool under the guise that it was a resource for people trying to transfer those. But literally just 4 posts down on the same thread, somebody posted the modification you make to make it work on any item to actually clear entire inventories. And since then it has become fairly widespread. It's not clear exactly how many people have been affected, if it's hundreds, if it's thousands. An important disclaimer around this, it is only on PC. There's no indication of anything like this being available on Xbox, and it doesn't seem like anybody would be able to easily do that. But you could find a ton of posts all over various Fallout 76 forums of people claiming to have lost entire inventories of items. In particular, on the Bethesda support forums for Fallout 76 on PC, there is a lot. And each of these are unique posts created by a totally different person. But what I think conveys this a bit better are actually some of the videos that have come out showcasing this and people actually abusing it. This has without a doubt become the most popular. It's a video of somebody running around and just stealing people's items in Fallout 76. And some of it actually is kind of sad. You can see some people wave to him all friendly and then you'll just see their armor all disappear. And in this video, he claims to have robbed 531 players in one night using the inventory steal cheat. Now, I do have some doubts around that number, not because it's not possible. You can see you can do it pretty quickly, but more so because did he actually count? Like, did he sit there and count each individual player that was robbed? But either way, even just from the video, you could pretty clearly see it's a lot. There are a lot of people losing items. Online right now, you can see the reactions and the devastation from a lot of people, and I could easily see how this could be a deal breaker. A lot of people have specific builds around specific legendary weapons that they may have spent a very long time grinding for, god rolls per se. To have that all ripped away and then no real recourse, no real easy way to get back another really good weapon is quite bad, and definitely one of those things that would make me want to walk away from the computer for a little bit and definitely not continue playing the game, at least in the short term. And although at least as of right now, this is extremely anecdotal, it seems like this is having a fairly massive impact on Fallout 76's player base. It seems like a lot of people are just avoiding the game. This mostly going off of how many people are active on users' friends list. People that have hundreds of friends are noticing there's very few online, or everyone that is online is just playing on a private world, because it really is one of those things that, okay, yeah, there's a decent chance you won't be affected, but if somebody on your server does decide to abuse this, there's not any avoidance. There's nothing you could actually do outside of just use bad items that you don't care if they're stolen. But as I mentioned earlier in this video, Bethesda has posted a response to this, officially stating, "Hi everyone, we are investigating reports of a PC-only exploit that could be abused by cheaters, which may have resulted in a few players losing items that their characters had equipped. We have been actively working towards a solution to this and have a fix that we are currently evaluating for release today. While we've determined that only a small number of characters have been negatively affected, we are taking this very seriously and resolving this is currently our top priority. We would like to apologize to those of you who were impacted by this exploit. We want to make this right, and we are currently looking into ways we may be able to compensate you. If you believe that you have been affected, please let us know by submitting a ticket to our customer support team. As mentioned above, this issue only affects PC, and we are currently planning to bring the PC version of the game offline today to release a fix. We'll let you know as soon as we are ready to begin maintenance." And as I mentioned earlier in this video, as I was editing, this fix was posted and applied. As of right now, at least the old method, the method that was commonly being used to do this, was patched out and is no longer possible. Although at least at the time of recording this, there has been no player bans, there's been no reverts on players' inventories. If you lost items or if you were using this hack, you are actually unaffected, at least thus far. Now I would argue there's really two ways of looking at this. On one hand, really big props to Bethesda for being timely with this. Within 24 hours of this cheat going live, they fixed it and it no longer is possible. That's the optimistic side. But on the other hand, there is some questionable parts about this. First and foremost, Bethesda didn't just hear about this. They didn't discover it when it went live to the public just last night. They knew about this last week. I don't know an exact date or time, but I, for one, knew about this on Friday, and I know at that point this was recreated in-game with a full write-up sent to Bethesda. So it's not like they were just, "Hey, there's a cheat, you gotta be aware of that." It was, "Hey, there's a cheat, this is how you do it, and this is how I think you could potentially fix it." That was done prior to Friday. So whether or not someone was working on this diligently over the weekend and they just couldn't get it fixed in time, maybe that was a thing, but part of me feels like someone was like, "All right, let's deal with this on Monday." Monday came around and we already see hundreds, apparently, of players affected by this that lost a ton of items. The timing is super unfortunate that it is right before a holiday. A lot of people are hoping to be off this weekend and probably have to work now as a result. But at the same time, this is a live service game. These are the things that come with developing and producing a live service game, so I think to some degree they have to expect this to happen from time to time. So props to them that their update was timely, and relatively soon thereafter the public tool was posted, but at the same time I feel like this entire situation likely could have been avoided completely. Also, just as an aside, I think something that's rubbing some players the wrong way is how they were somewhat downplaying it in their post, where they say only a small number of characters were affected, or how a few players were losing items. I mean, we could see just from this video, it's more than a few. It doesn't really seem like a small problem. It seems like quite a few, potentially in the hundreds, were affected by this one, which may be small compared to the relative size of Fallout 76 overall, but I wouldn't describe it as a small problem. That does seem like a bad word to use there. And of course, frustrating to those who actually were affected. So although big props to Bethesda for fixing this timely, there also is now the question of what's next. As I mentioned before, nobody thus far has been banned. My hunch is that they're probably going to actually have the holiday break. I mean, people do have to have a Christmas, so hopefully we see a ban wave, but I feel like it probably won't be right now, but perhaps some point in the future. There's also been some questions around what will happen to a rect ban. He's now posted 2 high-profile cheats, caused quite a bit of negative press and PR for Fallout 76. And even though there definitely is some blame on the side of Bethesda that some of this stuff was possible, and it does make it evidently clear this game needs a better anti-cheat, he also did create somewhat of a large target on his back, and there are a lot of questions as to how Bethesda will respond to that, if at all. There's been a lot of back and forth in the Fallout 76 community about whether or not there'll be some legal action. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Not going to pretend to be a lawyer for this video. But separate from that, of course, the much more concerning side of things, what about the players that just lost their items? And I think this is concerning because this is one of the areas Bethesda has kind of slacked on in the past. As mentioned in this post, Bethesda describes how they want to compensate players affected. Now obviously the ideal solution is just giving them all the items that were stolen, and maybe that is what happens. But based off me covering Bethesda, covering some of these past issues, they have been pretty reluctant to do stuff like that. Very rarely do they actually give users individualized items like that. One potential alternative that has been used in the past, and even this was fairly hard for a user to achieve, was a character rollback. so their character was reverted to an earlier state. Although that would probably be one of the most ideal solutions, in that instance it was a notably earlier state such that he actually lost 20 levels, and some of the items that he had gotten in between the point where that save was made and when he lost his new items. I think that might be one of the most likely fixes we do see, but as I mentioned before, even in that one case we have seen that used, it was hard for that user to get that. He had a long back and forth with Bethesda and even went as far as to submit video proof of him losing all of the items on his character, and they still denied his ticket. It seemed like it was only after some third-party involvement that he finally did get his character restored. With how wide-scale this current issue is, obviously having to have that much evidence would not be acceptable. People won't have video proof of this. So we'll see what ends up happening with Bethesda here, but I have a feeling that the compensation part of this, even once they patch the issue and start repaying users, will be a pain point or a point of grief for those affected. They may be unhappy with how exactly they are getting compensated. And even as it stands right now, there's some people that lost all of their valuables. If that just happened to you, would you want to spend a bunch of hours playing the game over your now holiday break? Is Bethesda going to be able to restore a bunch of characters over their own holiday breaks? We'll see what happens with this one. I'll definitely be keeping you guys up to date. If anything happens tonight or in the near future, I'll pin a comment down below. Overall, it seems like there's a large amount of wariness and skepticism among the Fallout 76 community. People are genuinely afraid to jump back in game and fear that maybe the exploit wasn't totally patched out and people start using it again. Although at least from my end, everybody I've seen try and test it has been unsuccessful. So otherwise, yeah, that is a look or a recap of some of the recent chaos happening within Fallout 76. How users are freaking out avoiding the game, and how it has seemingly caused a fairly large stir in many Fallout 76 communities. As always, again, I thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.